Welcome everybody. I think it's time to start. Welcome everybody. I think it's time to start our meeting. I'm Tibor Polgár from the West Pannon team from Hungary, as we are the lead partners of the EU Cycle Interreg Europe project. And today's meeting is an online study visit in the topic of regional cycling. So it's our fourth online study tour that's been organized by our project partner Bialystok Functional Area. So I hope all of you got the agenda. I'm very happy to see new faces and new people at this study tour today. And I have some technical requests. Please mute all of your microphones. Please use the chat to put questions during the presentations. And my suggestion would be to stop after every presentation and have a short question and answer sessions based on the chat, and or even based on personally put questions after the meeting or after the presentation. We have three presentations today. Our Polish partner, Bialystok Functional Area, organized this meeting on regional cycling, and Poland is special because they have regional programs. So in terms of regional cycling, they have a situation where they can count for an operational program that is regional and not a national level one. And I would give the floor for Adrian Kurza from the Association of Bialystok Functional Area to make the first presentation. Please, Adrian.
Yes, hello everyone. I have to ask host to, yes, okay.
Yes, yes, you are.
Share, okay. Okay, I hope you can.
We can see it, yes.
Yes, okay, I will start it. Okay, so it's very nice to see you all today. Today, I would like to introduce you the Green Velo Eastern Bicycle Road. The idea of such a project was born in response to growing interest in cycling tourism in Poland and the desire to activate and promote its eastern part. The effect is spectacular and definitely something to boast about. Green Velo is connection of towns and objects of high natural, cultural and historical value. On the vast majority of the road, there are lowland areas easy for cycling. A great success of the project is also the creation of a system of recommendation for cycle-friendly places, the details of which I will describe later. The Green Velo Eastern Bicycle Road, which is almost 2,000 kilometers long, as you can see on the map, is the longest and consistently marked bicycle road in Poland. It crosses the area of 5 voivodeships lying in the eastern part of the country, including the Podlaskie voivodeship. About 300 kilometers of the roads consist of new and reconstructed bicycle roads and pedestrian cycling paths, and almost 150 kilometers of renovated dirt roads. More than 30 bridges and footbridges were built or renovated, and more than 20 key intersections were rebuilt. 228 bicycle service points have also been built along the road. While presenting the details of the projects, one cannot fail to mention its sources of financing and the scale of European aids for its implementation. The construction of the Green Velo Eastern Bicycle Road was carried out under the project, which title is Bicycle Roads in Eastern Poland, co-financed by European Regional Development Fund under the Operational Program Development of Eastern Poland. The total value of the project was about 68 million euro in 5 voivodeships. This amount included expenses related to the preparation of documentation, project management, fees, supervisions, land purchase, and construction and assembly works. The 85% was financing from European Regional Development Fund, 10% it was the state budget, and only 5% was the own contribution of beneficiaries. The value of the project in Podlaskie Voivodeship was about 15 million euro, and the own contribution was only 800,000 euro. The promotional activities were also carried out under the promotional component of the project entitled Cycling Road in Eastern Poland Promotion. And it was about 6 million euro for that. Okay. Now I would like to introduce you to the most important functions of the website and the mobile application developed for Green Velo. Greenvelo.pl portal is the largest bicycle guide in Eastern Poland. Thanks to it, you can learn about the road and other roads in its immediate vicinity, discover tourist attractions, and in the mobile application, as in the case of the web portal, you will find all the necessary information, roads and facilities which are useful during trips. Thanks to the application, it's easy to plan a trip and set roads from A to B. The application is very intuitive, and a wide range of options allows you to adjust the road to your requirements. The app also allows you to navigate the trail. Voice prompts allow you to move freely along the road without having to constantly check your phone screen. Okay. At this point, I would like to tell you more about the system of recommendations for cycle-friendly places, which I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. A system of bicycle-friendly places was also created under the project. The main objective of the system is to recommend, develop, and promote a system for serving bicycle tourists on the area of Eastern Poland along the Green Velo. The entity responsible for the system is the Podlaskie Voivodeship Marshal Office. Yes. The idea is to establish cooperation with entities offering accommodation and catering services, as well as administrators of tourist attractions and other facilities providing services dedicated to cyclists. This solution is aimed at the creation of a uniform system of cycling tourism service. Okay. Currently, almost 900 entities are included in the bicycle service bicycle-friendly places recommendation system. In Podlaskie, it is about 231. Objects in the system are divided into 5 categories: accommodation facilities, tourist attractions, catering facilities, other services facilities, and tourist information. Each category has strictly defined standards that must be met. In order to join the program, an interested person, company, or facility must fill in a form and other legally required documents depending on the type of conducted services. The map shows you the description of bicycle-friendly places in Podlaskie Voivodeship. Okay, the model of cooperation rely on the selection of objects by way of a transparent call for applications carried out on the basis of very detailed rules. The basis for applications is the fulfillment of requirements specified in the principles of cooperation within the bicycle-friendly places, systems, and correct filling in and sending the application form. The slide shows the first page of the rules of cooperation and the application form. The requirement is voluntary, open, and free of charge. In order to maintain of high quality of offered services and truthfulness of provided information, it's assumed that a procedure of verification of facilities interested in taking part in the system will be carried out by the organizer of the system of recommendations, external auditors, and cycling tourists. A recommendation is granted for an unidentified period of time. Sorry. However, the entity is obligated to inform about any changes on an ongoing basis. The entity participating in the system may at any time resign from its participation in writing or by email without any financial obligations. The recommender system organizer agrees to place information about the recommended facility on the official Green Velo Road website and a dedicated mobile application free of charge. In addition, the organizer declares to provide the bicycle-friendly places owner free of charge with samples of graphics and informational materials containing the Green Velo logo, placing information about the facility in selected printed promotional materials issued by the organizer, as well as conducting meetings, workshops, information, and educational actions aimed at popularizing the idea and raising the standard of the bicycle-friendly places offered on the trail. Further cooperation is also based on exchange of information, for example, about the number of tourists visiting accommodation facilities. Entities participating in the system undertake to place a banner on their website or social media profile informing about their memberships in the network of recommended bicycle-friendly places. Okay. Now I would like to show you the bicycle service points created during the project for cyclists. On the road, cyclists can use 228 bicycle service points marked with the sign, which you can see on a slide. There are 72 such places in Podlaskie Voivodeship. They are located every 5 kilometers in urban areas and every 10 kilometers outside urban areas. Okay. All bicycle service points are uniformly signposted and equipped with shelters, benches, U-shaped cycle racks, info boards, and litter bins. And some also have toilets and water tanks. Bicycle service points allow you to rest, take shelter from the rain, and get information about attractions in the immediate area. Staying at bicycle service points are, of course, free of charge. On the photo, you can see different types of these points on the road. As we can see, they are not uniform. Each has its own individual character, but must meet a certain standards. Okay, on the map shows the distribution of bicycle service points in the Podlaskie Voivodeship. We can see that they are very densely and evenly distributed along the whole length of the road. There are 72 such places along the 600 kilometers in our voivodeship. Another, I think, interesting facility created for the project is the possibility to plan a road. The slide shows a planned road along the Green Velo road in Podlaskie Voivodeship from Białystok to Białowieża. The trip was planned using the trail website. The map shows the length of the road, travel time, and all bicycle service points and bicycles friendly places along the way. The information provided makes it significantly easier to plan the trip. You can plan rests, meals, and even accommodation. You can open a planned road in the application or also plan it directly in the application. In this slide, I would like to show you with the marking of the trail, the Green Velo Eastern Bicycle Road along its entire length is marked with metal plates in the characteristic orange color. However, apart from this sign on Green Velo, we can also encounter other signs and boards. These signs were introduced by a special regulations. The impulse to introduce a new signposting system, which can also be used by designers of other cycling roads in Poland, was the implementation of the project Cycling Roads in Eastern Poland. Okay. Coming to the end, I would like to tell you a little bit about the promotion of the road. Parallel to the process of creating the road, the promotional component of the project, Bicycle Roads in Eastern Poland, was implemented. The purpose of the project was to create a brand tourist project of the Green Velo Road and to create an image of Eastern Poland as a place attractive for tourists interested in active recreation, especially cycling tourism. The implementation of the assumption was based on carry out a coherent nationwide promotional and information campaign using primarily media such as TV, press, radio, internet, as well as promotional events. Now I would like to summarize what have been achieved by the project. So along the road in Podlaskie Voivodeship, cyclists can use 72 bicycle service points. As a result of the project, cyclists in Podlaskie voivodeships have at their disposal a cycle road of total length about 600 kilometers, including almost 130 kilometers of road using the existing cycling paths and pedestrian cycling roads. A total of about 28 kilometers of bicycle paths and pedestrian and bicycle roads were built as part of the project. And I think another interesting information is that under the project, the cooperation have been made by 28 municipalities, 9 counties. Also the direction of the national parks and the direction of the national roads and motorway branch in Białystok. Okay. I think I'm talking too long. About the difficulties, main difficulty was the lack of a system of cycle roads and the undefined methodology of marking cycle road in law. And there is a need to develop cycling roads evenly and to create their connection points, creating a system of cycling roads. Also, cycling roads should be created and marked according to the methodology specified in legal regulations, making it possible to visit the whole macro region require the creation of special infrastructure for long distance journey. Okay. Potential for learning. As I mentioned, the cooperation of 28 municipalities, 9 counties, and also every things that have been made in that project. Yes, the bicycle service points, the bicycle friendly places, the uniform signposting. Yes, and now I would like to answer for the questions that we received from Italy partner. Yes. The first question was, what criteria did you adopt in the planning phase to define the priority of implementation of the individual parts of the project? So I asked the Marshal Office, which is responsible for that, and they answered me that there was 2 documents, detailed description of the priorities of the operation program developed of Eastern Poland, and the second was the recommendation on technical standards for construction and making of cycling roads. The second one, what awareness program have been activated to motivate the use of the infrastructure created. So as I mentioned in my slides, yes, the promotional activities were implemented under the promotional component of the project. The separate funds were devoted to that, and the total value of the project was about 6,250,000 euro, and it was financed in 85% by ERDF. Yes. Now I would like to show you a video from the that promotion. Yes, There is no sound, so please rest and just watch. I think it will be interesting. If someone will be interested to get a link, I can send it to you. It's about 5 minutes, so take a rest.
Adrian, you could insert the link into the chat even.
Sorry, Tibor.
You could insert the link into the chat, and then we could separately listen to the sound as well.
Okay. But on the slide I don't have that link, so.
Okay. Then
because there is no sound. There is only some natural music. Yes. So okay. If you want, we can watch it, or we can slip it.
I think.
Yes.
Go on, please.
Okay. Okay, so that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Adrian. I'm really impressed also by the video, which is very nice ideas of how to present a long distance route with the photos at the end, and also the video is really excellent, and also I think the project is very comprehensive.
Yes, if you go on the YouTube and you will find the Green Velo, they have the official channel, and there you can find many more such kind of video. There are also private people which are loading their private videos from their journey. Yes, so I think it's very nice to look on that.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Adrian?
Tibor, there are a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, I will also open it.
How long did the implementation of the project last?
It was about, I think it was about 4 years. I'm looking on the chat, and there are there any other questions?
Yes, Jean-Bert is asking you, related to the route planner, do you have any data on how many people use this platform for planning their trips?
This time I don't have such a statistic, but I think the Marshal Office I think they can send me such a statistic, so I can send it to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just interested in whether it is really in use, but it seems to be quite useful.
If you are interested in any other statistics, you can send me an email, and I will try to gather this information for you.
Thank you, Adam.
Daniel, I would like. Bike stops. So as I mentioned in the presentation, they are 5 kilometers in urban areas and 10 kilometers in the rural areas. Yes.
Adrian, I have a question.
Yes.
On the organizational background.
Yes.
Of this route, like who was the main initiator or the driving force behind that? So you mentioned really a huge number of local and regional actors, counties, voivodeships, but there must have been a coordinator.
The coordinator was the Marshal Office. It was the project which was implemented in 5 voivodeships. And in each region, the Marshal Office was the general initiator, yes, and Marshal was responsible to navigate the cooperation in his voivodeship, yes.
They were having the operational program of the voivodeship, dedicated funds, EU funds, in their voivodeship program, and they coordinated 5 voivodeships together and 5 operational programs together.
No.
Please. Okay, I can tell because I was also involved in part of the project.
Okay.
It was initiative of the Ministry of Development. So they created a dedicated operational program for the Eastern Poland.
Yes.
And this was one of the flagship priority projects which didn't have to go through any competitions, and that's why it also has this co-financing by the state. So what Adrian shown at the beginning, there was 85, I think, % from the
Yes,
EU, but also
85.
10% added on the state level.
Yes,
and
only
then,
5% from beneficiary.
And the ministry also asked the Industrial Development Agency to do some coordinational work on the inter-regional level. So, for example, provide trainings for the regions involved, and I think also developing common standards. Also, promotion was, I think, handed on in common. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are right.
And during the management, so when you are contracting the cycling-friendly service providers, or you are managing the app, which is also very, very nice looking, really. I like it very much. Do the voivodeships do it? They sign the contracts, they manage their section of the app, or is there a dedicated organization for that?
No, the Marshal Office is responsible for that.
Mm-hmm. So the 5 Marshal offices are
Yes, yes. They are responsible for their voivodeship, and they are providing the information, yes, on the website and also in app.
Thank you. There is a question. Yeah, okay, no, it has been answered. I have one more question. We have seen on the video forestry roads and some agricultural roads on the countryside. They were very nice and attractive. Are these parts of the regional route, or they are side arms of the route?
Some of them are the part of the roads because they are granted, yes. So not all the roads have asphalt, yes. So some of them are ground.
Thank you.
I was wondering who's paying for the maintenance of the infrastructure, like, for example, all the service points. I mean, they look very nice, but in order to keep looking them nice, who's taking care of that, for example?
For these points, there is a contract with the municipalities on which area these points are located. And they are responsible for that, and also for quality of road. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So these resting places are on public territory, in all the
yes,
cases.
They are on the public territory. Everyone can use it, and if there are any other questions.
I don't see any more in the chat.
Okay, if there are any other questions, just write me an email. I will try to ask, and maybe you are interested in some material, so I will also send it to you. If there are any other questions, I would like to say thank you for your attention, and I think next presentation can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, for this very valuable, good practice and the very nice presentation of it. And I would give the floor now to Wojciech Grała.
Okay, so hello again. All right, I will try to share my screen. Okay, do you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. So hello again, I'm Wojciech Grela from West Pomeranian Marshal Office. I'm working in the Department of Infrastructure and Transport, and we are a team of 3 people coordinating the construction of our network, bicycle network. To place it, we are like on the opposite side of the Poland, on the west-north side. We are we have a lot of sea coastal areas, and of course we are very near Germany. That is a very big market for bicycles, so that's also quite important for us. Okay, so let's start. That's the distribution of tourism in our region. It's very concentrated on the sea coast, and we are one of the highest, biggest providers of night stays in all Polish regions. So, but it's concentrated in only 2 months time in year, and that's kind of a problem because the sea coast gets very crowded and only for 2 months in a year. So for us, bicycle tourism was a chance to invite people inland and to open new areas of exploration for the people, especially that areas are very nature rich and with a lot of monuments and historical places. So that even in Poland, it's not very good known that such places exist. So and cycle tourism in Poland, in our region, if you look on the map, it doesn't look so bad, and there are some local bicycle routes that maybe you could travel, but then it looks like that when you go there. So only the strongest and the most able people the young people can do it. So it's kind of not a basis for building bicycle network. And we started in 2015 with the survey of what we have in our voivodeship, what we can use for bicycle, and it became apparent that there is not so much of connected roads to build the network, and we need construction and funding and plan to do it properly. And so the planning part started. The regional office for spatial planning was involved, and of course they analyzed a lot of different aspects, like protected natural areas, culture and history importance areas, landscape distribution, because we have a lot of different landscape inside our region, and of course traffic generators like big cities, smaller cities, that the people will start their journey, and the basic network was laid out on this basis, and the document was written that now is the base for our work for the building of the network. And here is the link where you can find this document in PDF. Of course, it's in Polish, but I hope the Google Translator can manage it, and you can understand something. And if not, I can of course help you and just write it to me, and maybe I will just some details can be explained. And so 12 corridors were planned, quite dense network of bicycle routes. But of course, we don't have so much money, so much funding for it. And so 4 of them were chosen, like the first stage of the project. There are 4 of them, but 2 of the 4 have alternatives, because they need to link the biggest traffic generators, like here Szczecin, that it's capital of the region, and Koszalin, that it's here. It's the biggest, next biggest city in West Pomerania. So including these alternatives, the network is quite well, you can choose different, on the basis of the 4 routes, you can choose different ways. And then when we had corridors, they were like 5 or 10 kilometers wide. We started to make a detailed survey. People went on the bicycles with cameras, with photographic equipment, and make videos of all the routes. There was so much data that we then needed to work out. So then it would be possible to decide which sections need to be invested and which sections can be used, and only signs. Yes, and because you can have very beautiful countryside and maybe cultural monuments, but you need to build the bicycle way somewhere, and where to build it that it will be the most attractive one. So here on this map you can also see, well, the red ones are the existing infrastructure. Then you have the blue-white corridors of 12 routes. You have 4 main routes that we are now working on, and the black lines are the railway lines that were very dense network before the Second World War, and now they are unused, and they are waiting for use again. And that's very important, because we really don't like to build bicycle ways near the very high traffic roads, main roads, and that's the easiest way in Poland to build along the existing road. But the best way for bicycle is to go near the nature, with silent, with the animals that you can see, and not near the road with the noise. So that's also part of the analysis where to build the places. And right, so totally the network is or will be 1,120 kilometers, and then we need to build 400 kilometers of new sections, and 700 kilometers can be just signs. And right, and so we signed an agreement with every municipality that was on the way of these four routes, with division who is doing what, right? And here is the small. It was very important for us that Marshal Office is coordinator and is making documentation and investment process, because we want the consistency of the network. Because in each municipality would start to make the network, it could be really different in like 5 or 10 kilometers, it can change. But if we are keeping care about it, it's actually easier to coordinate it. But then the municipality need to provide ground for the investments, and then it need also financially to participate in the investment. Of course, all the investments are European funded, mostly from regional development fund, and also from Interreg. And it's 85%, and the rest 15%, it's divided in half. So 7.5% is Marshal Office, and then 7.5% by the municipality. And then after the finish of the construction, we give the road, the route passes to the municipality, and it's taking the care of maintenance of the route, and need to build the rest areas and all the attractions, because we are not concentrating on this matters too much. Well, we try to do this, but it's not our main goal. Our main goal is to build infrastructure, like the hard infrastructure, so then the municipality can build around it with attractions and the places of interest. Of course, the routes are going through different roads. It's not only cycleways, and of course the best is to go on cycleways. And but it's quite high percentage. After when we end the project, it will be around 60% of separated infrastructure in all the network. And we are trying as much as we can, because sometimes it's hard to do it, to build paved asphalted roads, because we think it's easier to maintenance, and then so that's why the forestry service roads is so low percentage, because of course we have a lot of them, but they can change in time. Like when we were making the first concept where to put the route, some forestry roads were very good 5 years ago, but now it's almost unreadable. And maybe it depends if you have terrain bike, but some people want to go with children and on a gravel road and in not very nice condition, it's hard to do it. So we see that and to build a paved asphalted road in forest, it's not very easy to do it. Well, at last in our region. Also, the network is connected with railways because we wanted the people to arrive on the network by train. It's the easiest way to connect bicycle tourism with trains, not with cars. So also we are buying new trains, and they have more bicycle space. But even with a lot of space in new trains, they can get filled up, and so it's also still the problem for us, and we are working on a solution. Well, we know the solution: more trains, right? But it's not so easy. And we have traffic cycle counters on the network because, yeah, and some of them are already 4 years old, and that's great. That's great thing, because we now have proof that some places have 7,000 cyclists per day cycling, like in Świnoujście, that it's small town on the border between Germany and Poland. 7,000 people per day cycle from one side to the other, and it was well, it is amazing still for us. And also we can, of course, it's the one place, and other places are not so bicycle intensive, but it's also interesting how the season is expanding, and you can get a lot of data from analyzing the counters. And yes, and the last year we actually could see a big growth of cyclists move. I think it was also seen in Europe. The numbers were very high, actually on in each place. Okay, so where we are, as you can see, it's not ready yet. Well, we hope, but yeah, but it's still. We have a lot to do. The red spots are the constructions that are happening right now, and green ones are the sections that you can travel safely, but without signing. We need to do the signing there. And the blue ones are ready, and the people are using them. So actually, we are now in a moment where we start to promote it, because we didn't want to start to promote it too early, because, well, it was not so much to do. But now you can go past the problematic places with safe local roads, and so yeah. So we are providing information in internet and applications and the maps, how to safely make the route and have a good time. Yeah, so I think it's like 1 or 2 seasons more to finish these 4 routes, and of course we are thinking about new links and routes, because the documentation taking around 1 year to complete. It depends, of course, because on the railway lines, when you have a ground and there is nothing there, it's very easy to develop and to design the route. But there are some places, like especially in the towns, where the documentation is taking a lot more time, even 1.5 years to do it, and then you can start construction. Yeah, and there's some people, some photos from different places already built, and the coastal route is part of Eurovelo 10 and 13, so it's the most important route for us also. Sometimes we are making like we don't want to build a separate cycleway, because we have very nice local road and there is no place for cycleway like here. and we don't want to cut all the trees, right? So there are some cycle lanes built like that, and we are leaving in the middle the cobblestone, because, well, it's also providing some the traffic calming for the cars, because this is local road for general traffic. And like the most important investigation that's kind of like a finish of the first stage of the project is Shikirki Bridge. It's an old railway bridge that now it's adopted for cycling. Actually, there are two bridges, because this bridge here on the right is Polish bridge, and on the left is German bridge. The project is financed through Itinerary, and yeah, the bridge is renovated, because for I don't know, 20 years it was not used by trains. Actually, I think the interesting thing is it was almost never used by trains, because it was strategic bridge for military use in the event of Third World War. So there is also the history of it too. And yeah, so there is a viewing platform built on the top of one span of the bridge. Yeah, and what next? Because yeah, we are thinking, as I said, we are thinking about new links, and yeah, and I think we will concentrate on building these old railways. As you can see, there is a lot of them to use, because also we see that there is a big promotional side to the project when we build near the traffic generators, like towns and cities. So a lot of people know about the project and start cycling, and then we can get new funding easier for the next, maybe more hard to build sections. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sure you will have some questions for me. So yes, I'm waiting for them, and if not now, there's my email, or there's a website. Unfortunately, still in Polish, but there are some maps. We have some leaflets there in PDF. We can also send some leaflets in paper about the sections that are already ready to be used. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was a question in the chat from Alexander Buczynski. Yeah.
I think it's already been answered. It was about the level of financial participation of communities. I understand it's 7.5% in construction costs. And the contracts for construction are done by municipalities or by the region?
No, by the region. We are using our roads building authority that it's managing the regional like secondary roads system, and also they are like making the investment process. That's great, because they are well, they are very good. They have laboratories, and well, they have very good practice in building roads. So I'm sure the bicycle roads are also well. the funny thing is that sometimes building a big road is easier than building bicycle roads, even for them.
I have a question, if I can ask. Thanks for the presentation, very interesting. I was wondering what was the total cost of developing these 4 routes, and what was the amount of money you received from the ERDF funds?
Well, it was around 50 million euro. And yeah, the problem is that in 2015, 50 million euro would, well, would be enough to build all complete network of these 4 routes, but today it's not enough. So we are still fighting for some more funds to finish it.
Okay. And what is the level of cooperation between, let's say, other Polish regions to ensure that kind of connectivity, and also with the German side, with Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and Brandenburg, to ensure this cross-border connectivity?
With the German side, we had been in cooperation in Interreg program, and also that was a program it was called Biking South Baltic, and that was the program for Eurovelo 10 development.
Yeah.
And so that was great because we get to know each other with the Pomeranian Voivodeship on the east, and with the Mecklenburg on the west, and with Danish side also. So yeah, so we are keeping in contact with them, coordinating, of course, the places where the routes need to meet, and the Pomeranian Voivodeship on the east also is developing their own bicycle network. So we are in close contact, and we try also to be in close contact in each region, that it's actually in every region in Poland, because now it's also the time we try like a regional team to plan the national network, bicycle network, because unfortunately from the central government there is no authority that's managing it.
Okay, so it's really up to the initiative of the 16 voivodeships.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question about this old train lines and dike roads, because in our region we have also several of this kind, and there is always a debate whether to use them or not for cycling purposes, because they sometimes quite long, and they avoid settlements and services with that, or potential resting place spots where you could implement a resting place or charging, e-bike charging or whatever. So what were your experiences where you defined the itinerary and where you pick these routes? What are the advantages, disadvantages? What do you think about this?
Yes, exactly. That's the downside of the railway, old railways, that they go around the places of interest, but it's we don't use it like 100%, right? Because they are not always going in the same direction that we want to go. So we are using them only as some sections, like maybe 10, maybe 13, maybe well, here on let's okay, yeah, on I don't know if you still see my screen. Yeah, I think yes. Here on the south part of region, we use it a lot, like maybe 30 kilometers. But we we try to make signs to the point of interest that are less than 4 kilometers from the route. And we are also encouraging the communities to make local trails that are alternatives to the main trail, so the people can. So maybe some people want to go fast through the place, and some people want to wander, and so they use the side trails to visit some places. But it's not like you are going 100 kilometers on a railway line.
One question, please. Congratulations for your presentation. I was very impressed by the space in the train, in the local train image, for the to carry bicycle. I would like to understand if all local trains are so organized, or with so many so the space is very large, very big. Italian local train don't allow, railway company in Italy doesn't allow to transport so many bicycles in the train. I am very surprised. How can do this?
Well, that we are also provider for the like local train transport. So we are paying for this transport, and we are owner of the trains, because trains are also EU funded. So when we were buying them, we wanted to because also to like to be consistent with this politics of building regional bicycle roads. We knew that we need a lot of spaces in the train. So like even because like maybe 5 years ago, there was a lot of old trains still working from 60s, 70s, 80s, and they had a lot of place for bicycle, because all the end and the beginning of train have a big compartment with nothing inside, so you could put like 40 bicycles inside. But then we started to buy new trains, and new trains didn't have this place, because, well, they have a place to sit. They were more comfortable, of course, and more quiet, but there was place for like 3 or 4 bicycles, and we saw that that's kind of problem even with less local bicycle traffic. And we started to change, and the next trains went back to maybe 10 bicycle per train. But of course it's 10 bicycle per train like on the paper, but if you have 10 bicycle places, sometimes you can get there like 20 bicycles. It depends about a lot of aspects.
Excuse me, do you have some documents in English? Some information, some rulement, something in English?
But about because we have, well, we don't have too much documentation. We have leaflets with the route maps that are like also they are in English, but there is not so much text. Of course, there is a map that you can follow, and because well, we are on the beginning of this phase of promotional phase of the project, and yeah, so I think it's before us. Of course, we want to in this aspect we want to follow Green Velo with good application, but we are looking also the application, independent application, have a problem that it was asked before about popularization of this application, because there is as a user, I don't want to have a different application for different route, right? For each route, I want to have one application that will give me all the information in West Poland and in East Poland and maybe in Germany, especially that we are near the border with Germany, and so we try to provide data and maybe make profiles with existing application, tourist application, like in Poland there is Traseo, in Germany I think popular is Komoot, and we are providing data for OpenStreetMap, so all our trails are immediately appear in every map that all the sport application are using, and tourist application and outdoor application. So yeah.
Thank you.
And then if there are no more questions, let me also thank you for this very valuable input to our interregional learning process. I found it really helpful. We are also starting regional network planning in Hungary in this new programming period. For myself, and I hope for all the Hungarian participants, it was really something that is new and that is inspiring for our common work here.
Yeah, I hope I will be able to visit you one day.
Yeah. Yes, we really are looking forward for personal meetings within the EU cycle project still. Thank you very much again, and I would then call for Alexander Buczynski from the ECF, who will make his presentation on regional cycling network planning.
Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
I'm policy officer at the European Cyclist Federation, and Fabian asked me to put together what we know already about regional cycle network planning across very different regions, so to try to approach it in a more systematic manner. But I'm very new to this project, so I would very much appreciate some feedback on what is important, interesting for you, because I can go on and write and talk about it for a very long time. I will go through very quickly through basic principles of design of cycling infrastructure. I will show a few examples of different types of regional cycling networks. I will talk a bit about governance models, then some common practical tips which are appearing through different regions that we know. And finally, a bit about prioritization, what to build first, because this is a question that is very often asked. So what regards basic principles, there is a sort of gold standard for cycling infrastructure. It was first put together by the Dutch organization CROW. The 5 main criteria for cycling infrastructure are coherence, directness, safety, attractiveness, and comfort. And these 5 principles have been copied into national, regional, local standards, basically everywhere across the Europe, with some really minor variations. So for example, Catalonia instead of coherence, they use two separate criteria of accessibility on the network level and continuity on the level of individual routes. In Greater London, they added adaptability because they have to deal with very high volumes of cycle traffic, maybe 3,000–4,000 cyclists per hour. So they need to build the routes in a way that they can expand them easily. In the cycle highway assessment tool, we added also the aspect of awareness, so how the promotional aspect of the infrastructure itself. What is important is that for different types of network, different functions, whether it's for commuting or for recreation or for tourism, there might be different priorities, different level of significance assigned to different criteria, but all of them have to be met. It's very tempting to say that safety first, that safety is the most important, but if you build a perfectly safe route, which is not coherent, which is not comfortable to use, it will be still a waste of money. So the original methodology, it assumes that if one of the criteria is not met, you have to rebuild, you have to redesign a part of the route to meet all of them, at least to a minimum standard. Other basic principle is that there usually is some hierarchy of the cycling network. The regional network doesn't have to cover everything. It should fit somehow into the European national routes to be connected to form longer routes, for example, for long distance tourists. And on the other hand, it will be a backbone for the local network. So it doesn't have to cover all the sources and targets of the trips. This is how it looks in numbers, for example, in the Netherlands. In total, there's estimated to be around 90,000 kilometers of cycling infrastructure across the country. Out of this, around 2,000 kilometers is part of the regional, the highest quality cycle highways, which serve for commuting. The recreational network also managed on the regional level is around 30,000 kilometers, and maybe 4,000 kilometers are part of long distance routes for tourists, either on the national or the European level. Okay, I already started about different types of regional networks, and there are three main target groups. One is functional, that's commuting, and touristic, and the third one, recreational. For the functional network, the important thing is that well, traditionally bicycles were used for commuting on short distances, 3, 5, maybe 7 kilometers. So it was mostly used in urban areas to commute to the center. But we're faced with an e-bike boom. The bicycles which have a small electric boost to the power of pedaling, which means that longer and longer distances are feasible for daily commuting. We saw in the previous virtual study visit the example of Flanders, Belgium, where almost 50% now of bicycles sold are electric. And the daily distances for commuting on bicycle can grow to 10, 15, maybe 20 kilometers. This creates a need for regional networks also for commuting, and also the need for higher design standards, so the capabilities of these e-bikes can be used on this network. And as I mentioned, Flanders is probably the most advanced in developing this kind of network, with around more than 2,000 fast cycling routes planned, 2,000 kilometers, and around half of them operational already. But it's also happening in other regions. This is, for example, North Brabant in the Netherlands. You can see that some of them are already ready, some are under construction, and further on are research to connect the cities and towns in the region to by fast cycling routes. We had a separate Interact project on cycle highways dedicated for that. And as a result of this project, we produced a manual that covers the stages from planning through design and then selling and evaluating the use of cycle highways. The other big target group is tourism. And the distinction between tourism and recreation is that by tourism, we understand multi-day trips where some overnight stays are involved. They usually, it means access by public transport, as Wojciech has shown. So you travel by train to the starting point, then you cycle for 2, 5, 7 days, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Covering daily distances, usually between 30 and 100 kilometers. And it also means that a reasonable minimum length for such a trip is around 300 kilometers. For the European routes, we use the threshold of 1,000 kilometers, so they give a big variety of options for tourists. Why is it important to make a distinction between tourism and recreation? It's because of the economic impact of what do you want to achieve with the route. If you want to develop services around the route, the tourists, well, usually whatever route you build, the recreation and commuting will be most of the users anyway. Even on the long distance touristic routes, the classical tourists, they are minority of users. For example, on Eurovelo 17, it's 18% of users, but they bring over 80% of economic impact because of overnight stays, because of all the services they require along the road. And they bring a very high return on investments. So for example, the 12 million invested up until 2017 in Verona brought up around the same amount in yearly income of the services along the route. And in 5 years, when they complete the route, it's expected to grow to around 30 million per year. And there's a very good study on the profiling of users. If you can understand some French, or if you can translate it, I would really recommend this report here, because it's a very concrete case study how different users behave on the route. So to bring this kind of users, you have to understand that they are traveling with luggage, so they have high quality requirements regarding quality of surface, regarding lack of step gradients. We tried to put it together in the Eurovelo and European certification standards, which also shows different stages of development of the route, starting from essential requirements to important and then additional, to cover wider and wider possible target group. Finally, recreation. This is the target group with the highest variety of different users. They can be families with children, which need very easy routes. They can be elderly, the same, beginners, but they can also be fast road cyclists, which can deal, for example, with a bit higher volumes of traffic and sharing it with cars. But they need good quality of surface. They can also be mountain bikers, which don't mind so much the not so good surface. But for the starting point, it's the most useful to build routes which cover possible as big as variety of users as possible. The different routes for different target groups, sub-target groups, they are usually appearing in the countries which have very high levels of usage, very high volumes of traffic. Then it makes sense to, for example, separate the fast racing cyclists from the families with children. And one interesting example of our recreational network is the node network, which means that basically all the routes are there's a network of nodes around the whole country or whole region. They are numbered, and you plan a route by the connection between nodes, and you have a big flexibility in how you arrange your route, what kinds of stretches you include, what do you want to visit, how long it is. So you don't have one or two set routes, but you have millions of different possibilities and planners adapted to that. This concept originated in Flanders also, and these are some statistics about the network. Currently it's more than 3,000 nodes with more than 5,000 connections between them. The total length of the connection is 13,000 with an average length around 2 kilometers, but some are shorter or longer. This is how it's signed. This is the node number 07. If you want to go to node 18, you go right. If you want to go to node 80, you turn left. And then basically every route can be described as a series of numbers. The current coverage of this network is whole Flanders in Netherlands. It's slowly expanding into bordering regions and countries, into Wallonia, into France, in Germany. There was also a pilot in Poland. And last year, with the COVID recovery package, the Danish parliament assigned also something like 20 million to develop this kind of network in Denmark. The experience so far, it's good that it's a very good idea, but mostly for advanced regions. So if you already have a dense network of cycling infrastructure, that you can create this kind of dense network with low investments, then it's useful to create this kind of nodes. But if you're only beginning to develop cycling, then it will disperse the limited funding, limited budget that you have into a very wide area, and none of the routes will be brought up to a very high standard covering a wide range of users. We see it even in Wallonia, that sometimes if you try to plan using the route, using these nodes, you end up on the national road and with cars, and there is no provision for cyclists. So an alternative approach, which in Wallonia is focusing on a greenways network, which started as by asphalting disused railways and towpaths. And it's currently 45 routes with around 1,400 kilometers, which is about 10 times less dense than the network in Flanders. But it allows to focus the budget, focus the efforts on limited amount of routes, and to provide higher quality of service on this kind of routes. So they started with this low-hanging fruits, railways and towpaths, and now they're connecting it into a more coherent network. And of course, there are three main functions, but there will be sections of routes that combine different functions, or two of them or three of them. So for example, in the right, you can see a part of a cycle highway, which is also a part of the node network. And on the bottom side, a gravel recreational route, which is a part of long distance Eurovelo route. So what it seems it's a good starting point is the connecting cities with suburbs or area around it, because this kind of routes are useful for all target groups. It's for commuting, for tourism, for recreation. Governance. And I mentioned that traditionally cycling infrastructure was a municipal competence because the cycle trips have been short. But if you move to the regional level, this has some disadvantages. So you plan a very nice route between two towns with high potential, but it passes for a short section through a different municipality. And it can work fine, but it can also end like this. It's not that this municipality in between is bad or evil or something. It's simply not what is priority on the regional level. Maybe it's not a priority for the municipality. It's a remote area of the municipality. It doesn't connect anything. And of course, you can try to create some compromise and make something useful also for this third municipality, but then you compromise also on the quality of the connection with the biggest potential, or you can try to bypass it altogether. But all of those are not the perfect solutions. So there is certainly a place for the regional level to step in and to say, yes, this is important for the regional level. This has to be done, even if it's not important for the local municipality. And different regions are handling this in different way. Either on the level of planning, financing, implementation. What seems to be a regularity is that the voluntary agreements between municipalities, they bring results only in the most advanced countries. So they work in some places in the Netherlands, in Denmark, and when they form some associations of municipalities and they work together on a route. But also then they get this kind of 50–80% financing from the higher level to bring the route to a higher standard. For the other regions, it's the regional level is even providing more than 100% of financing to compensate the municipalities for the extra work, staff hours they have to put into creating the regional route. Wallonia goes the further because it's not only taking leading role in the planning, financing, and implementation, but also takes care of surface repairs, engineering structures, and signage. Only cleaning of the route and information boards, rest areas are left for municipalities. So some challenges are the bigger variety of stakeholders on regional level. You have to deal with forest administration, water management administration. You also have sometimes to deal with the regional road administration, which is natural for implementing this kind of network, not having competence outside the regional road network. So you can build cyclepaths along the regional roads, but not in the forest 100 meters away from the road. And finally, lack of tools to acquire land for cycle track construction. If you have to acquire land from maybe 1,000, 2,000 private owners, then it becomes very complicated if you don't have the same tools as for roads or railroads. Okay, some practical tips or some common practices. First, the route itinerary. It's very useful to be very strict about having a backbone approach. It's very common at the planning stage that there is a pressure from different stakeholders involved to make the route visit this place and that place and this attraction and also the next village. So the length of the route grows and the itinerary becomes complicated, and there is not enough funding to resolve all the issues, and also not everyone is interested in visiting everything on the way. So what we are advocating, and what we see is the most successful is this approach of having a backbone which can be built by the region and side routes which can be left to the municipalities to connect to different attractions and to allow loops or side trips on the local roads. This was unfortunately also the problem when developing Green Velo, because initially the length of the route was estimated to be something like 1,000 kilometers, and there was enough funding for that. But then it grew to 2,000 kilometers, and not all the problems along the route can be resolved. So it left the route with some non-rideable sections. So that's the recommendation would be to focus on direct backbone, and the side routes can be gradually added later. The other issue, I think already mentioned by Wojtek, is to try to unbundle the network. So to try not to follow the main roads for too long time. Try to find places where you can make a small cycling investments, which opens up a long cycling corridor. So for example, on this schematic, it would be a cycle bridge between village C and D that would allow them to create a longer route on local roads without having to build 20 or 30 kilometers of a cycle path. This bridge would be expensive, but it has the advantage of providing more attractive, safer route than anything that you could build along the regional road. This is the same principle applied in a slightly different context in practice in Małopolska in southern Poland. This is the valley of Poprat River, and you can see the main road on the left side of the river. On the right side, they actually built only 1 kilometer of cycle path connecting local roads, which opened up 12 kilometers of corridor completely on the right side, far away from the big traffic, but making it comfortable. Again, this section was expensive because it's very difficult terrain in the mountains, but it provides higher quality than anything you could build along the regional road. Another very useful tool is filtered permeability. So this is the kind of managing the network of roads. So some connections are open for pedestrians, cyclists, and not for motor vehicles. And what is seen very often, for example, in Flanders, it's also open for agricultural vehicles. So some agricultural roads, they have this kind of tractor locks. So this is a concrete block or series of blocks that prevents the passage of most personal cars, but bicycles and tractors can go through. So this ensures that this road will not be used by many cars. There's still every house, every field can be accessed along this road, but it's not used for through traffic. It's not used for avoiding the traffic jams on main road. It's not used for speeding or racing or anything like this. And also, we often hear that simple bollards are often not enough in rural areas. So there is higher risk of, so you cannot just put bollards to protect, to make this kind of cut. Because if it's in a rural area, when remote area, there is a higher risk of devastation, and you need to construct more solid structures. Another very important thing is to integrate with other investments, big infrastructural investments as, for example, motorway construction or rail construction. This is the city of Szeged in Hungary, and you can see a well-developed cycling network on the right side, and a route connecting to the left to the towns of Domasek and Murahalom. And it used to be a continuous route, but when the motorway from Budapest to Belgrade was constructed, the designer didn't think it was necessary and didn't provide anything in the interchange area in the middle. So now it's a very complicated and expensive to bring back the continuity. On the other hand, as you saw in the last study visit, there is an opportunity to use, for example, service roads built as a part of the railroad upgrades, as a part of the regional cycle routes. And if you miss an opportunity, then it's usually very expensive and complicated to provide to repair the problem. On the cycle highway between Leuven and Brussels, there is the bridge that is now in construction to cross the ring road is costing 24 million euro, and it's more than all the other investments needed on the routes together. So it's much more expensive to cross motorways, cross trains, main train lines than to build in open space. Last thing to watch out for is temporary restrictions. So when you go outside the cities, there are more and more areas that can be crossed, for example, only during specific hours. There might be limitations in forests because of hunting, logging, or high risk of fire. Periodic floods or ferries operating only on set days. And well, obviously you try to limit it as much as possible. And a good practice here is RAVEL, the Wallonian network, which enjoys basically the same level of protection, legal protection as public roads. So for example, you cannot close a RAVEL route for hunting. You cannot close the RAVEL route because of risk of fire. You have to maintain it rideable or passable. But if it's not available in a way, it's necessary to provide alternative variants, and you can see some examples from Germany and the UK here. Okay, prioritization. There are at least three different approaches to prioritization. One is the potential for cycle trips. And there are different models to estimate that. This is the one that was used in the cycle highway project that was built on Eurostat data for the whole European Union. And you can see Flanders here and the connections with the highest potential around Brussels, Antwerpen, and other cities. You can use the same model to have a first estimate of different regions. This is what you see around Puglia. I don't know if it makes sense. Maybe you can tell me if it's makes sense, or you see different routes with higher potential. The other approach is to focus on low-hanging fruits. So all the levees or the towing paths, disused railroads, they often offer long corridors when you don't have to worry about acquiring land from 1,000 different stakeholders. You don't have to make complicated design decisions. There are quite a few regions that have a very successful results using this approach, and then slowly connecting this into networks. So here you can see that the green lines are the greenways that were built either along the river or on the railroad, and the yellow ones are the connections that were added later on public road. And finally, the third approach to prioritization is you look for places where you can make the biggest difference in conditions for cycling. So the sections that now have the heaviest traffic, the worst surface, or the steepest gradients, or are unsuitable for cyclists for some other reason. So in this schematic, you can see that there is town A, and the primary road crosses town A, and to get to town B, you have to cycle on the primary road and secondary road. Then you can use the smaller roads to get to be. And you have some disused railroad line that you would adapt. So in the first stage, you focus on creating alternative to this main road, the most busy road, and you can already put some signs on the rest of the route with only a short stretch on the secondary road. So already you can get some users on the route, and they will create some pressure to develop the route further. So then you create a bypass first for the secondary road, and then you can maybe at some stage finalize it into a full route. And in practice, it can look more like this. This is from the Eurovelo action planning, where we use this 3 levels of criteria: essential, important, additional, and we encourage the partners to start with solving the problems, the essential problems, and then moving on to the higher level of criteria. So these are the 3 main strategies for prioritization, and in practice you will always mix and match different strategies. So you will have some of that and some of that, depending on the reality of the region. Okay, so takeaways regarding design criteria. There's you need to know the 5 criteria. You need to read the design manual for bicycle traffic. I also included links here for a few other publications that either provide a general advice or collect a comparison of regional and national guidelines. It's the Cycle Highway Manual and a similar indicators for the urban corridor roads. And the key lessons, I would say, is that you need some regional level initiative. The regional level really needs to take a lead to make things happen. You need to focus on backbone when starting to develop the network. It's useful to try to unbundle the cyclone car network, and you can make use when planning, when developing, make use of filtered permeability of other investments that are planned in the regions and all the low-hanging fruits that are there around usually. And finally, you need to prioritize, you need to choose. You will not create a node network from scratch in 5 years, and there are different strategies how to approach that. So that would be all from my side. I think I went a bit over my time. Maybe we have a few minutes for questions still.
Yes, please. If someone has a question, they can take the floor.
Well, I see the question about the economic evaluation, and I can already answer it. Well, they were not only tourists were considered as income inflows generators, but the number that we've got, it's well, we've got the regions that are along Verona, was that the tourists generate majority of income. It's was 20% of users generate 80% of income, and the numbers might be different in Switzerland. They might be different in France, depending on how many of the local users are. But generally, if you travel for a long time, you spend more than on a day trip.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, one question, please. Thank you very much, Alexander, for your very interesting presentation. My question is this. Have you spoken about service road that are used for cycle highway? I would like to understand if there is some national law or regional law, I don't know, that allow that service road can be used also for bicycle, because since service roads are not a public road, in Italy we have many problems, and I have been spending my life to convince authorities national authority of roads, for example, that the service roads that are at the side of the main road, I don't know in English the name, but super road, we have kilometers of service road that can't use in a legal way, because a lot of cyclists go there, but not by legal way. And I am spending my life for this. If there are some law or other kind of regulation abroad, please let me know, because it's very interesting. Sorry, Puglia region presented a proposal to change the code road, the highway code, in order to insert this rule by which the service road can use by cyclists, of course, with some regulation. Therefore, the same things of the street, the cycle street abroad. Therefore, I would like to understand how it's possible to go on. Thank you.
Well, of course, if you look at the topic from the point of view of the road administration, rail administration, or water administration, the cyclotourism is not part of their core business. So they don't want the additional trouble. They don't want the responsibility, for example, for the poor maintenance of the road. Something happens, someone rides into a hole, and then who is responsible for the damage to the bike, who is responsible for the accident. So you have to understand that it's not straightforward for them to just accept any number of cyclists on the road. So, but on the other hand, if you look at from the point of view of user of the transport network, or from the point of view of taxpayer, it doesn't make sense that these are the hundreds of kilometers of those service roads, and they are there and they are not used as they could be, because they usually offer very good conditions for cycling. So you either need to work some voluntary agreement with the administration, where, for example, maybe region is offering some responsibility for maintenance or for something in exchange for letting people go there, or you can have a national law or change in the statute of the administration responsible for the service road in a way that it becomes a part of their business. So it's not only, for example, transporting heavy goods from one side of the country to the other, but also in a way supporting the development of tourism in the area.
Thanks.
Well, maybe you know, of course, that, but it's with the recent change of the Road Infrastructure Safety Management Directive, the National Road Administration is also obliged to take into account the needs of cyclists when in their road safety procedures, and you can use this as a way to get this change of attitude into place. But it also depends how the European legislation will be transposed on the into Italian national legislation.
I have a question, Alexander. Thank you for your presentation and this very comprehensive framework of reference to think about regional network planning and implementation. I think it's very useful. I have a question concerning the methods of prioritization that you mentioned. So when we did this kind of plans, we tried to look for cycling traffic attracting points by just looking at the cycle racks or parking places, and we did some traffic counting on very busy connections within a city. It's feasible to look for all of these connections. But if you are looking at a region or trying to do it in a region, it's either very expensive, or you will try to get some mobile cell data, which is, at least in our country, it's even more expensive to get and very complicated and sometimes unreliable. So my question would be about alternative methodologies to grasp traffic attracting spots in a regional network, and also the spots that are sending, the cyclists that are emanating, or where they live actually, so where they start their commuting, for example.
I think, well, it's very good to monitor the level of cycle traffic, but the danger that when you start planning, you only start planning your network, is that you don't get the information about high potential for connections that are now not rideable for bicycles. So, for example, there is no bridge across river. You don't measure the potential of decision where to build a bridge by counting the people who are swimming across the river. It's also, if you have a very busy road, if you have a motorway that it's difficult to cross, if you have some barriers, then you will not get the existing traffic. The existing traffic will not show you the potential for a cycle route. So there are different ways to approach that. One is if you look for the commuting traffic, you probably have some traffic models in your country, in your regions anyway, and then you can get a subset of the trips in the traffic model, which are within up to 5, 10, 20, 30 kilometers distance, and see where they form a big, where these trips are a potential for cycle trips, depending on how popular e-bikes are in your area. If you're looking for touristic roads, I think Wojtek presented a very comprehensive approach in his work for the regional network. Unfortunately, I know it's in Polish, but it covers the generators, the big cities. It covers the train stations, which also bring people in, and it covers the main tourist attractions. And I think that's a good starting point.